last night from Las Vegas, Nevada. It was a history-making UFC 200 from the T Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Tonight is the fallout from that show, and this time around, just one opinion, two opinions, who was there to see it live, not by various means, but exclusively from Dave and Buster's in Providence last night, and we were there to witness the greatness of it. Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Flecha, and I am alongside Anthony Florio, and we're going to do open forum. So we're going to talk about the fight. We're going to give you our thoughts and our opinions, but this time we're not going to go with I give you a thought and Florio gives you a thought. We're going to be free flowing with this. It's going to be like he's normally the Mike Goldberg, I'm the Joe Rogan on this. So we're just going to do it interview like style. We're going to talk about the fights. We're going to get right into it. Unfortunately, we did miss the first fight of the night, which was Cain Velasquez versus Travis Browne, and Cain Velasquez won the bout by TKO by knocking out Travis Browne at 4 minutes and 57 seconds of the very first round. So therefore, we're not going to talk about that fight because we didn't see it. But we are going to dive into the final four fights, and the first fight that we got to see was for the interim UFC Featherweight Championship, as it was José Aldo versus Frankie Edgar. José Aldo wins the belt. He's now the #1 contender for the UFC featherweight title. He will fight Conor McGregor sometime down the line. Unanimous decision, 49-46, 49-46, 48-47. And actually, Anthony, we were talking about this fight as well. You were actually asking for my scorecard. I actually had it 49-46 for José Aldo, but give me your thoughts of the fight first, and then we'll go back and forth with it. So, Aldo and Edgar, what did you think about it?
All right. Well, thank you very much indeed, Fletch. Hello, friends. Anthony Florio here with you for our UFC 200 recap edition of Strictly Sports, you could say. Delighted to be here as always. Delighted to have you with us as well. And yeah, Fletch, I mean, yep. Last night you could say was a somewhat of a bucket list moment for me. It's well documented about Michael Flecha and him and his family friend, or I don't know what the relation is exactly between you and Alex Fletch, but it was great.
It is a family friend. You can agree to that.
Family friend, okay, yes. And I'll tell you what. I mean, you, me, and him. I mean, back in years past, we used to have three-way conversations on the phone, and we used to get into a lot of things, the major professional sports, wrestling, and maybe even a little UFC once in a while. But I mean, you heard what I said on Friday night. I mean, on Strictly Sports. I mean, well, we had a behind-the-scenes chat, and Michael Flecha and Alex have been going to Dave and Buster's to watch UFC events for the last few years now, and I wanted in on it. I figured with this being the biggest event of them all, I figured why not, and I figured why not take the plunge, and 24 hours ago, that's exactly what I did, and it was a great night. Getting to hang with Fletch as always, and meeting Alex for the first time. I mean, I've been dying to meet him, and I was so glad that I could finally meet him, and we had a lot of fun. We had a great night, and if I'm going to be real honest with you, as far as this fight goes, I got to say by default this was the fight of the night. If I'm going to be real honest with you, I mean, I'm not going to give it we're not doing star ratings, are we? I wouldn't think we are. So just give our overall thoughts on the fight. Is that what we're doing? So.
Yeah, no, I never give any star ratings for UFC fights at all. So no,
Okay,
you can just go right ahead. Just give us your thoughts about the fight.
All right, fair enough. And like I said, it was the fight of the night for me. I mean, it was some great action throughout, and there was definitely that element of a little bit of some Shakespearean drama, although the outcome really wasn't in doubt. I mean, I had José Aldo winning this fight. I remember, Fletch, you said you had Frankie Edgar winning the fight when we did our preview show on Friday night. I mean, it was a solid matchup. I mean, this event overall wasn't really the best. I mean, we were hoping that it was going to be, the greatest of all time. And, but I'll admit it, based on, there was one or two fights that really stood out. I mean, we'll get into the other one, and I'll let you know what the other one is as soon as we get to it. But as far as this is concerned, I mean, I don't know what else there is to say except, this, because this one went the distance. I mean, the Velasquez fight, I mean, that was like a TKO, so that was over, in a hurry. And, most of the other fights, I mean, 2 fights were over in a hurry. Another was just a letdown. And then, but I'll just say, like I said, default fight of the night for me. I'm not surprised that Aldo won it. I mean, I had him winning it going in based on what I said the other night, So with that, José Aldo now the interim featherweight champion, and he's going to have a date down the road with the former champion, Conor McGregor. And Michael Flecha, I'm going to give it back to you. I mean, you have an interesting day and time for that supposed championship bout with Aldo and McGregor. And if this does happen on the night you think it's going to happen, it's most justified the next time we're going to do this. So Fletch, I give it back to you. It's my default fight of the night.
All right. Well, the reason why, and I was always saying it, I said it to Anthony and I said it to my friend as well, and I alluded to that if you're going to make a bigger fight, a mega fight, like something a la UFC 200, I was going to say put it at UFC 205, which if a lot of people may be living under a rock, not many, but maybe a couple, UFC 205 is set for Madison Square Garden in New York City. I believe it's supposed to be sometime in November, I believe is what they said it's going to be. So I'm going to see. Just give me 1 second. But I know it's supposed to be in November. That's what I heard. UFC 205, did they list it here? Yeah, okay. The UFC 205 is now set for November 12th from Madison Square Garden in New York City. So I was thinking in the back of my mind, like, holy cow, what would it be like to have an event like that held at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden? Let's just go. Let's do it. Give us a big event, put that big fight in the Garden in New York, and let's just go wild. That was my initial thought of it, and that was what I was hoping for. Now, are we going to get it? We'll wait and see what happens, because the thing is that Conor McGregor's got to fight Nate Diaz, and that fight's now set for August 20th. Saturday night, August 20th, from the T Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. And that's going to be live on pay-per-view, the rematch. UFC 202, we'll get into that a little bit later on. But that was the one fight that I was really looking at. Maybe you can do, and that would be a great matchup, and we'll see from there. Now, the next fight of the night, or the next fight that we had, was Daniel Cormier versus Anderson the Spider Silva. Daniel Cormier won the bout by unanimous decision, 30-26, 30-26, 30-26. We all were upset with this fight. Anthony was not happy with this. I was not happy with this. My friend Alex was really upset with this fight more than anything else. And the thing was the way the fight went, I'll even admit it, it was boring. I'm sorry. Daniel Cormier took Anderson Silva on the ground more than 3 or 4 times in this fight and sat on him for the longest time, using the ground and pound, but it wasn't really tactical wrestling or anything else. And it got to the point where the fans were yelling, "Let them up, let them up, let them up." even the crowd that we were watching the fight, they were booing. They were bored out of their mind. The referee for the fight was Big John McCarthy, and normally in any other situation, we would say, all right, you let him up, we keep going, and, we get back. But for John McCarthy to let this fight settle on the ground for as long as it did, it really dragged the life out of the crowd. And I'll even admit it. I would have called it the worst fight of the night. I mean, by default, this was the worst fight of the entire main card, and that's a darn shame. It was absolutely disappointing. There's really nothing more to say about the fight. It just left a bitter taste in our mouth, to say the very least. Anthony, you can come on in. Give us your thoughts about this. I know you were even sensing how disappointed you were with this fight as well. It was definitely written all over your face.
And what about Alex? I mean, you heard Alex. I mean, Alex was...
Oh, he was really upset. Can't
say I blame him. I mean...
Yeah.
I mean, nobody was more critical of John McCarthy more than Alex was. But let's just say that John McCarthy was not the only guy Alex was very critical of. The man that pretty much was responsible for this fight, and that was John Bones Jones. I mean...
Yes, he
criticized John Bones Jones because of the fact that John Bones Jones had that positive drug test, and well, we all know the story from that. So, but yes, this to me definitely was the worst fight of the night. I'm gonna be real honest with you. I mean, I know we don't do rating systems here, but I hate to say this, but I gotta say this was a bit of a dud. I'm gonna be real honest with you. I mean, this was a major letdown. I mean, Anderson despite his Silva, I mean, I thought we were in for something special. I mean, I'm gonna be real honest with you. I mean, when we were there at Dave and Buster's last night, you know how observant I am about a lot of things, and I couldn't help but notice a large Brazilian contingent in the house.
Oh yeah,
and they were cheering, they were rooting for Anderson Silva. Alex was rooting for Anderson Silva. I mean, he even told us the story about how he's never gone against Anderson Silva in any of his fights. I mean, yeah, that just shows you how awesome and legendary Anderson Silva is. And I mean, there were times where Silva almost pulled one from under the fire there. I mean, that would have been unbelievable. But I mean, that place would have lost their mind if Silva had found a way to win that fight. But yeah, it was just too much Daniel Cormier. I mean, it was basically. I mean, the fans were pretty much sitting on their hands. I mean, I couldn't help but hear some boo birds in the crowd. I mean, you heard it too. I mean, we all could. I mean, even though it was a major sellout there, and one of the biggest business days for Dave and Buster's. I mean, yeah, that crowd in Vegas was definitely was very, very upset. I mean. It was almost like Roman Reigns had successfully defended the WWE Championship. That's what I could compare it to. But nonetheless, I mean, I called this one right. I had Daniel Cormier winning. I'm going to be real honest. I mean, I believe we all had Daniel Cormier winning that fight.
We all had Daniel Cormier going in. My boy Alex was pretty neutral going in, but it was like his heart and his mind. In his mind, he was thinking Cormier was going to win. His heart was saying Anderson Silva. But the thing was, we were looking for a more competitive fight more than anything else. And I think, and if you looked at it, Silva was giving us those glances of the old Silva. The leg kicks were there. That one flying knee right into the face of Cormier. We were like, oh my God, Silva's back. But then Cormier just grabbed him, put him right to the ground, and that was it. I mean, he basically sat on him for, at one point, he sat on him for almost 3.5 minutes, and we were really getting angry at that point.
Oh, absolutely. And, but nonetheless, though, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was just one of those instances where, you felt cheated. And another point that Alex made that I wanted to mention, he felt that, he felt that this fight not only should have been for the title, but it also should have been in the main event. That's what he felt. I mean, because he felt about Dana White.
Well, yeah.
Because about Dana White.
But if you really think about it, I think it's better that they actually did not put this as a 5-round title fight, because if this is what we would have gotten for 5 rounds, we would have blitzed all over the UFC for this. So at the end of the night, they made the right decision not to put the belt on the line, because, I mean, if we would have had to sit through that for 5 rounds, oh no.
Yeah, oh no is right. But Alex said about Dana White, saying Dana White wanted to, he said that something about Dana White wanting UFC 200 to be bigger than 100 and, making it a title fight. But I think after that, I think we can all agree, thank goodness this was not a 5-round title fight, because it would have gone down as one of the worst fights, if not the worst fight in the over 20-year history of UFC. So dating back to the very first UFC event, UFC 1, back in 1993, which they acknowledged last night in a great video package, showcasing, and that night was a single elimination tournament, which the legendary Royce Gracie went on to win, including a semifinal win over the great Ken Shamrock. So, little history lesson right there. So with all that being said, Fletch, I mean, there's nothing left for me to say. You, me, and Alex were in agreement. This was, in my words, an absolute dud and the worst fight of the night. Sorry to say. So with that being said, did you give your thoughts on it, or are we going to just move on?
No, we're just going to move on. I actually gave my thoughts about it earlier on before we got right into it. But we are going to get into this. This was the moment the UFC fans were waiting for. WWE superstar, former UFC heavyweight champion Brock Lesnar made his return to the octagon to fight the Super Samoan Mark Hunt. Brock Lesnar impresses the UFC crowd once again. The social media outlets went absolutely ballistic with a whole bunch of love and praise for Brock Lesnar. He wins by unanimous decision, 29-27, 29-27, 29-27. On my scorecard, I actually had it 29-28. But it was for Brock Lesnar. All three of Alex, myself, and Anthony all agreed Lesnar won the fight. Anthony, Florio, you got to see Brock Lesnar. This was the one that you wanted to see so bad. Give me your thoughts, man. What did you see from the Beast Incarnate?
Domination. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, now I know both Alex and I were hoping that he would have taken Mark Hunt to Suplex City. That's what we were hoping for. Alex was even hoping for an F5, but no, you can't do the F5 in UFC. I mean, Lesnar would have been out of there.
You definitely could Suplex City somebody though.
Oh yeah, he could have. He still could have done. Yeah, the Suplex City was definitely not out of the question, but Lesnar gets the win. I'm not surprised. I mean, we all had Lesnar winning it, and Hunt hung in there for a bit. But I'll be honest with you, we even talked about it. The number one observation that came out of this, and you mentioned it, Fletch, that Lesnar was being very respectful to Mark Hunt, and I'll let you elaborate on that in a little bit. But yeah, Lesnar definitely. This one went the distance, and Lesnar dominated pretty much most of the fight. I mean, Hunt had a couple of moments, but nothing to really speak of. I mean, I'm not surprised Lesnar won the fight. We all had him winning it. I mean, I wanted to see what all the hoopla was about. I'm glad I did, and I don't know if you saw that little article that I posted on the Facebook late last night, Fletch, that I tagged you in. Brock Lesnar, for this fight, received the largest guaranteed payday in UFC history. I mean, it even came up. I remember Alex asked you, how much do you think Lesnar's making for this fight? You usually think, probably a cool $1 million. Oh no, $2.5 million deal. That's what it was. Lesnar pulled in $2.5 million for this fight against Mark Hunt last night. Highest guaranteed payday in UFC history. Check out the article I found on foxsports.com, and you can go from there. But that's what I read, and I felt like sharing that with you because I figured you and Alex were wondering about that, and I'm sure it came up. So there you have that. So what else is there to say except Lesnar's back, and it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win for Lesnar. It's a win for UFC. And, of course, it's also a win for WWE. I memean, we noticed the major cross-promotion and the mainstream media attention. I mean, they not only plugged Brock Lesnar's upcoming bout at SummerSlam against your man, the Viper Randy Orton Fletch. I mean, I know that's going to be, out of all the SummerSlam fights, no matter how the final card shapes up, that's going to be the one you're going to have the most vested interest in. I know that for a fact. That's going to be your fight right there, Lesnar and Orton. No question about it. I mean, they promoted it, the video package for the SummerSlam bout. And then they also mentioned about Brock Lesnar being on the cover of the newest WWE 2K17 video games. So that's going to be coming out this fall. So, yeah, what else is there? Which you can also play as Bill Goldberg if you pre-order. So, I mean, what else is there to say except welcome back, Brock Lesnar. And how about Lesnar's speech after? How about that little shout out to all the law enforcement officers that Brock Lesnar did, after those horrific events this past week in Dallas and all around the southernmost part of the United States. I mean, that was a nice gesture by Brock Lesnar. I mean, say what you want about him, but we actually saw the real side of the Brock Lesnar, and that was real, recognizing real right there. And we definitely acknowledged that. We gave him some. We definitely echoed his sentiments, and there's nothing left for me to say except Lesnar dominated the fight. I'm not at all surprised, and so now it's onward to SummerSlam and the big showdown with Randy Orton, which I know we're all looking forward to. I mean, nobody more so than you, Fletch, because we all know how big of a Randy Orton mark that you are, and also a Lesnar mark for the most part as well. So nothing left to say except, Fletch, I mean, you talked about how Lesnar was showing respect. I mean, elaborate more on that.
All right. The reason why I was saying that he was showing a lot of respect to Mark Hunt is because Mark Hunt is a knockout artist. Mark Hunt has knocked out a lot of big names. He knocked out Frank Mir. He knocked out he basically knocked out Andre Arlovsky. He's knocked out, Antonio Gonzaga, and Antonio Bigfoot Silva. He knocked him out, knocked him down like a tree. So I mean, there was a lot of people that we were talking about, and the thing was, if Mark Hunt nails you with a good shot, a lot of the times you can actually go out on shots like Mark Hunt unloads, and that's why I think they did a great job. Brock Lesnar used his wrestling, tried to get the advantage. He got the advantage in the first round and won the first round. Second round, I think Brock kind of started getting a little winded, and that's why I was thinking, this might not be good for Brock. I had him losing the second round. The third round, though, Brock decided, you know what? I'm just going to go with it, go with the roll, see what happens. He got a couple of good shots in, but the takedown, the huge takedown, because he took him down in that third round, and when he did, he sat on Mark Hunt, and when he did, he unloaded some vicious bombs on Mark Hunt, and that's why he won that third round and consequently won the fight. So, I mean, the reason why he respected Mark Hunt a little too much was because he didn't try to go toe-to-toe with Mark Hunt, because he knows if Mark Hunt unloads one of those H-bombs on Brock Lesnar, Lesnar's been known not to have a great chin. Some guys have knocked him out. Cain Velasquez knocked him out. Alistair Overeem has knocked out Brock Lesnar with devastating shots, and that's one thing I think a lot of fans were kind of wondering. you know, what was Brock going to bring to the table? He looked great. I mean, physically, this looked like the best condition he's ever been in a UFC fight. And you know, he had no signs, no ill will. His training looked great. He even talked about it post-fight. Look, I felt great. My training camp was great. Everything was going good. He felt great. So it was definitely a big night for Brock Lesnar. And then on top of that, big night for World Wrestling Entertainment, because after the fight, they posted it on their website, Brock Lesnar winning at UFC 200, and a whole bunch of WWE superstars showing their love to Brock Lesnar, you know, saying, you know what, great win, great job, Brock, congratulations, you are an animal, you are a beast. But the one person that was the most telling was Randy Orton. He went to his Twitter last night, says, congratulations, Brock Lesnar, job well done. I will see you at SummerSlam. Let the hype begin for the hottest night of the summer at the Barclays Center in New York at Brooklyn. All right, now the main event for the UFC Bantamweight Championship of the World. The champion Miesha Tate goes up against Amanda Nunes, the winner of the bout, via submission through the rear naked choke at 3 minutes and 16 seconds of the very first round. And new UFC Bantamweight Champion of the World, Amanda Nunes. She wins the title, and I'm going to tell you this, I was shocked with this fight. But Anthony alluded to it during the pre-fight chat that Amanda Nunes is good in the first round. If the fight gets a little longer, maybe Miesha wins, but Miesha has to weather this first round. She did not weather this first round. She was getting lit up with a couple of good shots. She got hit with a shot that dropped her. She went down. Amanda Nunes tries to go for the submission. She tries, not really gets it there, keeps on the ground and pound. Then the big mistake. Miesha gave her back. You never give your back in the UFC because you could end up getting submitted. Next thing you know, couple of clamps in, she gets the rear naked choke. Tap out city. Brazil celebrates. Miami, Florida celebrates. We have a new UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion of the World, Amanda Nunes, and I will even admit it. Going into that fight, I even said that Amanda Nunes maybe didn't deserve the right to be fighting for the UFC title. She was number 8 in the world. She was you could have made an argument for some other competition, but I'm going to be very critical of Miesha Tate here because I think she had a horrible UFC fight week. She came in almost well overweight going into the fight. She almost missed the weight she almost missed doing the weight. She looked horrible in the fight last night. I don't know what happened. Horrible camp. It could have been her boyfriend. It could have been her training regimen. Whatever it was, she was very ill prepared for this fight. I'm sorry. She deserved to lose the belt last night. No questions about it. Anthony Florio, give me your thoughts about it. I know you were stunned like everybody else, and we even got to hear you channeling your Mike Goldberg. You got to do "It is all over," and you actually said it. We had a new champion. Go ahead.
It was all over. What else is there for me to say except, yes, it's well documented. I am a big fan of Mike Goldberg and his work. And of course, I know Fletch. I mean, I know how big of a Joe Rogan guy you are, not just because of his UFC work, but also back in his Fear Factor days. But man, oh man, what else is there for me to say except, this one was over in the first round. I mean, that was the only way Nunes was going to win it. I mean, she had to do it in the first round because that's her go-to round. Because if if the first round had gone the distance, then it was pretty much going to be Miesha Tate's fight to lose. But you're absolutely right, Fletch. I mean, Miesha Tate deserved to lose this last night. I mean, we were all stunned. I mean, we all had Miesha Tate winning this fight. I'm sure Alex had Miesha Tate winning the fight. But I remember what he said. You know why he thinks she lost. We're not really gonna, dwell into that because it's a little more on the personal side. But I'm not gonna really I'm not really gonna get into that. But it's well documented how Alex feels about this certain individuals. So we're just gonna leave it at that. But besides, I don't know what I mean. The women's bantamweight championship has been a hot potato. I mean, ever since Holly Holm pulled off the biggest upset in women's sports, which I'm calling it the biggest upset in women's sports, when she took the title from Ronda Rousey last November. And you were there for that, Fletch. You told me. You said you were there, and you said that was one of the one of your top three biggest moments since you started going to Dave & Buster's for UFC events. I mean, you told me it was right up there. I mean, because of how much of a madhouse that place was when Holly Holm pulled off that major upset. And then Holly Holm drops the belt to Miesha Tate earlier this year. And then all of a sudden, Miesha Tate now drops the belt to Amanda Nunes. So what's next? I mean, we think maybe Juliana Pena could be possibly the next challenger, because Juliana Pena picked up a win over Kat Zingano during the preliminaries, which I did see on Fox Sports 1 prior to going to Dave & Buster's with you and Alex last night, Fletch. So, yeah, I mean, and Pena absolutely owned that fight too. I mean, she dominated Zingano from start to finish, and that's why she won that fight. So, but congratulations, Amanda Nunes, a new bantamweight champion. And yeah, that Brazilian contingent, I mean, they had a lot to celebrate. I mean, first with José Aldo winning the interim featherweight championship, and now with Nunes bringing home the women's bantamweight championship. And I mean, there's a lot of celebrations going on around the world. I mean, there's a lot of celebration in Brazil, obviously, and of course in Portugal with what happened today, which I will mention on future broadcasts this week, including one of our own who I know is beyond thrilled about about the events of today. And wow, that's all I can say about it. So congrats to Amanda Nunes. Tate was very off, deserved to lose. And, how and why did she lose? Well, we said it best. She took the fight lightly. She took Amanda Nunes lightly. I mean, she thought she was probably going to roll over her. No, she got rolled over by Amanda Nunes, and Amanda Nunes deserved to win this title. I mean, and we even talked about how certain individuals did not deserve title shots. And I know, Fletch, you were very vocal about how Amanda Nunes did not deserve this title shot. But I think after what happened last night, I think you got to be changing your tune on that. I mean, I know I would be. So yeah, there's really nothing left for me to say except the women's bantamweight championship is now a proverbial hot potato now. Wouldn't you say, Fletch? As I throw it back to you.
Very much so. And, we'll wait and see what the future holds for the UFC. One thing is for sure, this was a night to remember, a history-making night, and an amazing UFC event, to say the very least. All right, so that wraps it up for tonight. And tomorrow night is the Wrestling Forum. Anthony Florio will host it on Tone 25. We're going to talk about Monday Night Raw. We also got the Tony's Take, the Mikey's Mindset. And I believe Derek is also going to be a part of our show as well, I believe. He said he was going to drop in and make a special appearance.
No, Fletch.
Next week.
Yeah, he's going to be live next Monday night, July 18th. He's going to be on location from the Dunkin' Donuts Center, because Raw's going to be right here in Providence next week.
All right, so, of course, tomorrow night's Raw is live from the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit, Michigan. Oh, man, I can't wait for that one. It's going to be an amazing show. Well, until then, guys, for Anthony Florio, I'm Michael Flecha. You've been watching a special edition of Strictly Sports, the UFC 200 recap right here on BraceFan95, YouTube.com. Like this video, leave a comment at the bottom. What was your favorite fight from last night's show? Share this with all your friends on every social media platform. We got them. And until then, hug the hand pounds. We are out. Good night. And have a good night, everybody.